Right, so official good afternoon. Welcome to the NIBOSH National General Certificate. What, of course, would have been, as I said off the record there, a past paper session, right? Today is past papers. We finished with chapter one last week, and I would have thought that from Barbados, of course, right? Those of us who would have been here would have done that session from off, Barbados. But we would have finished off that part of it on negligence, we'd have finished off that part on what must the employer do to defend themselves? And we are going to look at a FASIPA here. So the one I've decided to show is match paper, right? I actually didn't really choose it. I actually just chose it at random. It was not really selected with any thought. It was just selected because to me, any FASIPA is any past paper, right? It doesn't really make much of a difference to me to say that if it's March paper or May paper, right? It doesn't really make a difference to me or April paper. Every paper is the same to me. But this one was a good one, right? So let's have a look at it. Just verify if you all can see it. And so everything you have learned before then, right? We want to kind of zone down on two questions today. And there are lots of questions that you could do, right? So anybody remember how much pages is the case study? How much pages is your typical case study? Orientation wasn't too long ago, folks, right? And your orientation videos also on YouTube as well. How long is like a case study? Like how much pages is it like is it 10 pages, 5 pages, 2 pages, 1 page? Make a guess out of those combination there. How much pages is your case study? When I say yeah, go ahead. Make a guess.
Tree.
Yeah, about three, right? So that's not long. I was saying when you all did CXC, right? You all did longer comprehensions than that. In fact, SEA students sometimes, right? Some SEA comprehensions are more than 3 pages, right? This one looks like two. It looks like two, right? Look at that, right? Also, by the end of this session, we'll be looking at some suggested answers, right? So we have 1 page. That's one there. This is a second one, 2 pages, right? You do have 3 pages case study, but at the same time, 3 pages is not long, right? SEA students, when you did CXA, your comprehensions were kind of longer than 3 pages, right? So that's a good thing and that's a bad thing too, because it means all the answers hidden up somewhere here and we have to find them, right? So that's the catch, right? I mean, there's like a needle in a haystack approach. Let's take a look at the questions. I'll tell you the ones we're going to look at. If anybody driving, though, I'll probably try to, shout it out for you so that you hear it a bit better, right? Behavioral safety observation, I would not look at that because that is chapter 3, right? However, we could look at number 2, health and safety leadership. This question echoes everything we have been saying about NIBOSH, right? That you don't need Google, that you don't need your textbook, that you don't really need ChatGPT. All you really need is you and the case study. Because the case study, watch number 2. Somebody read it for me. Read the first part of number 2 for me. Well, it's only one line, isn't it, right? Read part of number 2 for me, or the top line for me. There's only one line anyway.
Health and safety leadership.
Right? And the next line is what?
Comment on the poor health and safety leadership of the MD.
Thanks very much, Daryl. Thanks very much, those who took part there, right? Okay, so listen to it, right? Where are you going to get that answer from? Comment on the poor health and safety leadership of the MD. Is that on Google? Yes or no?
Any scenario.
Yeah, it's not even in the textbook, right? So your books here, look, your books on the ground, right? Well, you all have it on the ground still, right? And those who didn't collect yet. But you don't even need your book. The answer's right here, right? So remember, tell you, passing exam is easy, but it's a little bit long because you don't have to go through the gold mine or the mine to find those points there. Like what is negative about health and safety leadership, right? Watch it again with me. Folks, I tell you, if you have any writing paper, make sure and write something down today, right? We all learning techniques today, right? How much marks is this question, number 2? We're looking at 2 today, but when I say 2, we're looking at number 2 and another question today, right? How much marks is number 2? Anybody else?
8.
Beside in there. 8. Okay, 8 marks, right? How much answers you have to give?
8 marks.
8, 8 answers, 8
Eight.
marks, right? So hidden up in this 2-page here, it have like 8 things that the managing director is not doing. We have to find it. Sometimes it's easy to spot. It's easier than you think, you know. This is not maths, right? It's easier than you think. If you watch here, you see they start saying MD. Watch it here. The MD ignores these concerns and states how important it is for targets to be met, right? So it's not hard as you think, but it's 8 we have to get. We're going to come back and get it just now, right? But that's what I tell you. Number 2 echoes then with what we have been saying. Number 2 is like a perfect question for it to pass, right? We're also going to do number 3 because you all know you finished chapter 1. And chapter 1 was a chapter on the what? What's the main thing in chapter 1? The main thing in chapter 1 is what? Anybody should be able to answer that. The main thing in chapter 1 is the health and the act, the health and the act, look at there, right? So the acts here though, the workers seem to have breached section 7. I'll come back, and when we finish number 2, we'll come back in this one, right? But just mentally think, anybody can remember what section 7 is all about, and you can think about it for a bit. And what we have to get 6 breaches by the employee under section 7. Don't worry, it have 6 breaches hidden up inside here. It have 6 breaches. It probably have more than 6. Some people get more than 6, right? But it have 6 inside here as to what the employee did wrong, right? So tell me if you're okay with today's approach. Remember what I said. Let me just say it again. By 4 o'clock, I would show you somebody's answers, somebody who passed. All right, so she passed the exam, she got 66 marks, she didn't get 100, but you'll see some answers then, right, as to what could probably help you guide your answer to get a better answer, right? There were other questions we could do. Watch the paper. Remember, we have only done 1 chapter. Can you do number 4? Have we done number 4? Moral reasons to manage health and safety. Yeah, we did that, right? So by covering, no, but we wouldn't have time to do all the questions, right? We just do 2 questions today, right? It's just a passive session today. So we have done number 4. We have not done accident investigation. You only just did 1 month of classes so far. This is actually chapter 4. Trading is chapter 3. Number 7 is chapter 2, which is started next week, right? ISO 45001. That is chapter 2, right? So we starting that next week. If you have your book already, you could probably have a look at it and you'll see, but that's actually next week. The influencer peers, you could actually do that, and that is actually chapter 1 as well. So by covering 1 chapter, there are about 4 questions here that you all could do, right? Remember, this is not the degree program. We had that this morning already. We had the degree is half 10 to 12. But you all are not in the 2-year program now. You all are in the 4-month program. And a month gone already. Tomorrow is June, right?
Excuse me, maybe excuse for 1 minute, please.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. You all had a month already, right? So what I'm doing today, I'm trying to boost your confidence a bit. There are some people that say you had to wait until you finish to do past papers. No, I've never said that. Every time you had orientation, I told you all, when you finish chapter 1, we're going to do a question. When you finish chapter 2, we're going to do questions, right? And you don't have to wait, because why are you waiting to the end to do a question like number 3? Do it now, right? Do them now, right? Okay, let's take a start. I'm going to read from the top. No, sorry, let me just analyze this question a bit, right? So if you have your writing paper, I'm going to guide you with this, and I'm going to guide you with about 4 answers. We try number 2 now, right? So let's try to analyze it. So we are going to comment on the poor health and safety leadership of the MD. Pay close attention, pay close attention. A lot of people get distracted, right? We are focusing on the MD. Don't focus on anybody else in the case study. It have more people in the case study, right? If you're writing, please write that down. We are looking at what the MD is doing wrong. Why we said wrong? Because they said poor. Watch it here. Comment on the poor health and safety leadership of the MD. Folks are getting that? Okay, next thing. Remember, we have to get 8 answers, right? Each answer is going to have an answer, like what was poor, like poor communication, poor training, something like that. And each one must be tied into what? What is missing in this way to get a mark? I mentioned it during the last month anyway. What's missing in that to get a mark? Anybody? It missing or what?
Nothing is an explanation.
It missing something to do with the passage, but what is it missing? You have to link it back to the passage. Your answers, remember, it's a comprehension, right? Remember the idea of a comprehension?
So part of the answer has to be from the passage.
Yeah, you have to link back the lines, right? It's kind of like if you remember primary school when they tell you a boy one color, for those of us who read those books, right? Have gone to the supermarket and they are going to buy rice, flour, and oil. And then one of the questions is, what did boy one color go to buy? Well, you have to quote back the passage, right? So remember from orientation day, your video is on YouTube. I'm just telling you that, right? In case you're forgetting it. Your orientation video is on YouTube. It's on the WhatsApp group and it's on the Google Classroom, right? So with every answer, you have to tie it back to the lines, to the passage, as the idea of a comprehension, right? When you do that, how much marks you'll get? How much marks you get when you do that? Anybody remember? How much marks per point?
1 mark per point.
1. When you do that, you get 1 mark. So then you have to go on. I'm going to put a number 1 here. You'll see one just now. I'm going to tell you, showing you somebody people, right? But I want you to give it a fair try first too, right? So when you finish that, you have to go and do a next one. You have to go and get another poor practice by the MD. It won't be hard to find. I'm just telling you, you just have to find it, right? You don't need no magnifying glass. Just have to read and find it, right? When you do that, you find another answer, you tie it to another line, and then you get another point, and that'll be 2 marks. And you have to do that 8 times. We're not doing 8 in the live, we just do about 4 in the live. Right? And then we'll move on to number 3, and I'll show you somebody people. If you think you forget this, if you think you didn't remember this, God been saying it all along, just kind of have a note of it, right? This is how the answer question. We did this on orientation day, the answer and the line, the answer and the line. Are we going to get that 8 times? But we won't get 8 in the live. We just get about 4 in the live, right? Tell me if you're taking it down because I want to go up in the passage and this writing would actually block the reading. So we need to take it off. Keep in mind, the question is MD. I wonder if you all remember what the verb comment meant. Anybody remember this one? What does comment mean? Before we go up to the passage. Comment means what? Okay, well, how do you start a comment question? Anybody remember that? And how do you start a comment question? The verb is comment. What does comment mean? Well, okay, I'll tell you again, right? So comment.
To give your opinion.
Very good, to give your opinion, right? So see, so comment means you have to give your opinion. So each of these answers, even though if it sounds repetitious, you have to say, in my opinion. Now, you could choose to use a different word beside an opinion, right? You could choose to use a different word beside an opinion, like my views or my belief. But you could probably go with that same idea, right? Or I think, right? Comment is really for you. So you have to say, in my views, in my opinion, I believe. You should write these things down, Not because I didn't write it. My screen kind of fill, you could write it down, right? But each one have to start off like that then, right? They start off with, in my opinion, a poor health and safety leadership of the MD is, and we're going to get it in the passage. And then all you have to do is tie it to a line. It's so easy. I tell you, a primary school child could do this, right? We tend to think it's hard. But then, like I said, you did CXC and you did primary school. So just remember the principle of a comprehension. You give the answer and you tie it back to the line. If you leave out the line, you get 0 marks. If you put the answer alone, which is the same thing, right? No. So like if you give the lines alone, you get 0 marks. It must have that combination. It must have that combo. It must be answer and line. Answer and line. Answer and line. Once you have that, you'll pass NIBOSH. I will show you in another class. I'll show you all this already. This is the March class. This paper, in fact, is their paper. This is the March class results, right? See if you can see it. The paper I'll be looking at is exactly one of the girls from this class as well. See how much passes? See it for yourself, huh? Right? So the paper you're looking at is the same paper that they did, right? So once you catch how to answer a question, life will be easy. It's not as hard as you think. But guess what? It's long because remember, when you're really doing this, it takes about an hour per question. And if you have 9 questions, that's 9 hours of work. It's not as hard as maths and it's not as easy as, primary school, but it's some good hours of work. It's about 9 hours of work. Ask Daryl. Daryl, how long you take?
It's about, honestly, maybe about 15 hours, not lie.
Right. Okay. But some people, Daryl, do take breaks in between, and some people do not start at the same time. But the thing is, yeah, it's a 24-hour exam, right? So you can take your time. I mean, not because I say 9 hours mean that you're really going to take 9 hours, right? You can take 10, you can take 11, you can take your time. There's no hustle. Most people know it's a 24-hour exam. Submit 11 o'clock in the night, submit 10 o'clock in the night, whatever have you, right? Some people submit 3 o'clock in the morning. But that shouldn't be. If you understand the question, this 8-mark question, no way should this take you more than half an hour or 45 minutes to do. I'll say that again, because this is not a 10-mark question and all the answers right in the passage. I don't need Google, I don't need ChatGPT, I don't even need my textbook, right? This should not take you more than 1 hour to do. After that, take a break, check out your dog, check out your bird, right? Text who you have to text, take a break and then come back to our next question. Every question, do that, right? When lunchtime reach, have your lunch. Don't overeat, of course, right? And keep going, right? By 4 or 5 o'clock, even you see that you're wrapping up the paper. All papers are the same, right? So if you all understand the technique, I have used the first half an hour of the class to revise how to answer a paper. I've used it to analyze the question. We're looking at the MD, we're looking at 8 marks, the structure of the exam is here. And before I show you, some of the students' papers, let's see if we can have a look at one. So to do that now, folks, you remember MD, right? As I read now, I want you all to see, but I'm going to slow down so you'll know when I find one. So here what, I'll do 2 like that, and then I'll ask you maybe to do one on your own. Because once I slow down, I find one. I find a point then, right? Just before we go, please remember you said, in my opinion, or in my view, a poor health and safety leadership practice of the MD is you're given the answer and then you're stating the lines. I do have to take off what I have on screen. It cannot stay because we have to read the passage, right? Hopefully you all wrote it down. I'm going to take it off now. All right, so let's go. Now, I don't really like the reading technique too much. I kind of more like what is called a fishing technique. The fishing technique is where I just go and look for the MD. Watch it here. MD, 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 MD. And if you go down again, you'll see MD again. Watch. MD, MD. It have 8. It's an easy paper. It's easier than you think, right? Students who make it hard, not me, right? Somewhere down you have 1 again. Look for MD. You're supposed to find 8. Look, MD down here again. MD, MD. What do you think of that technique? But I have to teach, right? The fishing technique is a nice technique, but we're going to read the whole thing. But did you all see what I just showed you there? You all understand it? You see, there are passages here not about the MD. Watch, all of this here is not about the MD, but that question focuses on the MD. Now, these here would be focused on another question, right? So a nice way to use is called the fishing technique. I'll say it once again. There'll be 8 points about the MD here. Why not just go look for it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's that easy. 6, 7, 8. Tell me what you think. Right? You also it? So that is my preferred technique. I would prefer that technique, but I'm going to read the whole thing for you all, and then we'll slow down one by one. But you don't have to do that. If you're pressed for time, of course, it's a 24-hour exam, but if you're pressed for time, why not just go and see what the MD was doing wrong? Watch, there is a managing director who reports to the head office. The store manager, SM, has 15 years of service at the store and has been given the responsibility by the MD of making sure that sales targets are reached. All departments are set challenging targets. If these are achieved, workers are rewarded with large financial bonuses. The MD and the SM have regular weekly meetings, and in these meetings, they check to see if targets are on track to be reached. The SM has recently decided to arrange weekly team briefings with all supervisors and workers. Now, you may be saying, well, what's wrong there? But you didn't see anything wrong there. But you have to find one that is wrong there. I'll read it again. But let me read from the top this time. Right? When I reach here, I will slow down here and I read here a bit slower, right? So let's read. Prime Plaza is one department store of many in a retail organization. It is situated in a town center and is a large 2-story building. The store's warehouse is on the ground floor, retail space, and an outdoor garden area selling garden consumables and plants are also located on the ground floor. There's a customer cafe and additional retail space on the upper floor. And nothing really there is about the MD. That's why I prefer the fishing technique. But this passage had one, right? Let's see if we could find what is poor. There is a managing director who reports to the head office. This store manager, SM, has 15 years of service at the store and has been given the responsibility by the MD of making sure that sales targets are reached. All departments are set challenging targets. If these are achieved, workers are rewarded with large financial bonuses. Try to figure out what's wrong here, remember, this is a safety course we're doing, right? The MD and the SM have regular weekly meetings. Is safety being talked about in those meetings? Let's see. And in these meetings, they check to see if targets are on track to be reached. The SM has recently decided to arrange weekly team briefings with all supervisors and workers. So what could we extract from that could be a poor practice by the MD. Devon, I think I don't really mind Devon.
Donnie trying to reach sales target at the end of
Very
the
good.
week.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what you're saying. So you're starting it off right now, right? You're starting it off and you're saying, I don't know if you want to write, you want to write it down? Anybody want to write it down? I'm going to say it a couple of times. So what do you want to say? You want to say, in my opinion, you want to start writing? You want to say, in my opinion, and you can go back and rephrase down here if you want to see it. I'm gonna go down back. You see, that's why we need to print the paper sometimes. Huh? Is that the print the paper for your exam? So in my opinion, a poor health and safety leadership or a poor practice, or a poor health and safety practice, or a poor, in my opinion, a poor health and safety leadership, I probably put in the word practice there, of the MD, is that there's a focus on production and sales. You could stop that sentence right there, folks. You don't need more than that. You understand? That forms your answer, right? That forms your answer, right? Tell me if you're okay for me to say it again, I'll say it again. Not every class is a passive class. Today is a passive class, right? I'll say it one more time, right? But I have to go back down because I forgot what I said. Maybe I should ask you all to repeat it. So In my opinion, a poor health and safety leadership practice of the MD is that there's a focus on production and on meeting sales targets, right? Once you put that, that's the answer, but then you have to put the line. Right now, my advice is you can actually say back the line in your own words. That's my preference. If you can't do, you could probably quote lines from the passage, but you need to put it in the inverted commas if you're doing that. All right? The next line is where you say something like, tell me when you're ready. I'll call it out for you. The next line, you're saying something like, tell me when you're ready. You all ready? You're saying, this can be seen in the passage or in the case scenario where it was mentioned, and you can say it in your own words, right? That the MD are having regular weekly meetings. Tell me if I'm going too fast, right? The MD and the SM, they are having regular meetings to check if targets are on track, but there's no mention of health and safety at those meetings. When you finish, tell me how much lines it took you to write. How much lines it did make in your, hopefully you're using 5 pages and not any sort of sticky notes. If you're using sticky notes, it'd be a lot of lines, right? How
3
much
lines.
lines did it? 3 lines, yeah. And that's the magic number right there. 3, 4 lines is the magic number right there. So here what
And
I'd
a good
ask you
4.
folks. 4, yeah, 4 is good. 4 is good. 3, 4 is good. Right? 3, 4 is good. Now remember, you're writing, but remember for exam, you'll be typing. So perhaps when you type it, it'd probably end up being just about 3 lines anyway. Right? Feel free if you want to add anything to it, that's okay. Don't add too much. Like some people talk about controls and don't do things they didn't ask you. Right? Like this morning, I had somebody in my degree class. I really don't like to take people in my school who are not from the school, but I took a guy now. The question asks, and I didn't want to make him feel bad, right? But the question asks something, and then he started to talk about controls, and I told him thanks for your suggestion, right? But the thing is, he was not answering the question. So don't start to talk about how to control it. Just answer the question. They ask you what was negative, what was the poor practice, just give them the poor practice. Don't say how to correct it, right? So folks, you gotta, they didn't ask you how to correct it. If they didn't ask you how to correct it, then don't correct it, right? Okay, let's see if we can find another one. So tell me how hard was that? Or you want to try another one and then you will see how, maybe if you think it was hard, right? So what it does, it takes time. It takes time to find them. It's 8 we had to find. And it takes time to type them. But is the exam hard? The exam is never hard. It's just a bit long. So you could find another one, right? So we're going again. The SM feels that health and safety is common sense and does not require any allocation of resources. Watch this one. This attitude is shared by the MD and most of the supervisors. So I have to stop there one time because that is one. You understand? Remember they asked what was poor about the MD? So they start off with the SM. So they try to hide it now, but you can't hide it too well. I mean, it's not really hidden if you think about it, right? The SM feels the store manager feels that health and safety is common sense and does not require any allocation of resources. But then they said this attitude is shared by the MD. So that's one. So we go again. Number 2, right? If you're right, number 2, you start off again, in my view, in my opinion, I think, however you want to start. Right? Nothing is wrong with saying, in my opinion. That's the best way. But I just saying, some people have their own way now. Some people change it up. I believe, I think, my view, you know. However you want to start, but start, right? So I would go with, in my opinion, another poor practice by the MD is that there is no emphasis. I'm actually giving an answer. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to do. Like you're trying to put it in an answer. Like there's no emphasis on the allocation of resources. The point there is on resources. See that? Like the first one, Dervin said, like, Dervin, sorry, right? That there was no focus on health and safety. There was more focus on production. So there's an answer, but then we tie this now to the line. You can either tie it directly or you can just make mention of it. I would choose just to make mention of it, right? I would choose another way in another class, another pacifier class, right? Anyone is anyone to me, right? So then you said, this is in the case study where it was said that the SM, I'm saying back in my own words, the SM believed that health and safety was common sense. And that view was shared by, that attitude was shared by the managing director. Full stop. And that one is also finished. No need to do anything more. Move on to another point, right? Yes, it's that easy. I'll do one more, right? We're going again. So it have some others here. The MD has no interest in health and safety and believes it's not their responsibility. I could even use that. You see, interest was one, but responsibility is another one, right? Interest is, if you want, I'll probably help you with this one, right? So we already spoke about interest and attitude and stuff, right? No interest in health and safety, but it's a responsibility. Folks, you all did the HSW Act. Let me try to bring it back to your memory. It was just a month ago. Section 2 of the Act, duty on who? Duty on who? Section 2 is the duty on who?
Workers.
No. Section 2, there's Section 2. Anybody remember? Section 2 is the duty on your, I'll give you a clue. So that's the E2. Duty on
Employer.
the
Employer.
employer. Well, it's the MD, the managing director. He's over the SM, right? So you can never say, what duties am I talking about? Safe plant, safe systems of work. We did all of this, right? Information, training, instruction, supervision, safe access, egress. So you cannot give away, you cannot say that's not your responsibility. Where is this law? This law is in Trinidad. This is the OSHAC 2004. This law is in Guyana, the OSHAC 1997. You only remember that class? And this law is in the HSW Act. All the laws say the same thing. You understand why I make another point on it? I made another point on it because interest, when they say interest is different to responsibility. There is a duty on the employer under Section 2. That's their responsibility. Interest is not the same as response. I made another point on this. I'm going to make another point on this. Right? Listen to how I will start it off though. I will say, well, the usual start, right? In my opinion, a poor, practice, a poor health and safety practice by the MD is that let's see, they did not take health and safety seriously or legally, or did not take their legal responsibility seriously. I could put a full stop there. If I want, I could continue. I can say such as the duties found in Section 2 of the HSW Act. That is the employer's responsibility, right? You want me to say it again? In my opinion, a poor practice by the managing director is that they did not take their legal responsibility seriously under Section 2 of the HSW Act. I could put it first step after the word act. And then all I have to say now, all I have to say is that this is seen in the case study where it was said the MD, I could just put this one in inverted commas, believes it is not their responsibility. I can pick it up from here then. The MD, you see, and believes. And here cuts it into two. The first part was interest, but we already spoke about that. But and believes, right? A and D. So I can pick it up there. This is seen where it was mentioned in the case study that the MD believes, I could take it from there, is not their responsibility. And I have three answers. Tell me what do you think. If you leave the book at my right, I will just, and I receive book. Yeah. Tell me what do you think. We're about to look at somebody's paper now, if you're okay with that. We look at somebody, people, and see what they did. Somebody who passed. I want to show you somebody who feel, right? Tell me what you think. You're okay, you're surviving. Life isn't that hard as you believe it is. NIBOSH isn't that hard. Don't study anybody. If it had, right, how come all these people pass? How come all these people pass? I'll show you the paper already, right? Just now. How come all these people pass here? Right? It's not that hard, right? It's not easy, but it's not that hard. It's not a free certificate. It's going to England for marking, and you have to write properly and type properly. When you get your cert coming back from England too. So you're getting a good quality certificate, globally recognized. We spoke about that. But is it trigonometry? Is it rocket science? It's not. It's easier than you think. You could get this. You could get this and change your life. Spoken enough about that, right? Today is not to talk about that. I'm sure you all check up some of them jobs. Did you all check England? Did you all check Canada? Did you all check Guyana? Did you all check Trinidad? Right? So it doesn't expire. You don't have to do over NIBOSH, thank God. You don't have to do over NIBOSH. When you have it for life. Right? Tell me what you think. Just give me a bit of feedback. I'm about to show you one of the students' paper who wrote this. Now, Darrell was in this class? No, Darrell was not in this class. This March. No, this is a class. No. Anyway. All right, let me show you. Let me see where I put it, right? Any comments before we look at it, folks? The coordinator stepped out, so if anybody come to pay now, I'll have to attend to them a bit, right? 3 o'clock on a Saturday now, nobody really works except me. I'm taking off this on the side here, right? I think you all have it already. So this girl working. When she was doing the course, she was not working, right? Lane took her up. For those of us in Trinidad, right? Lane took her up. So she working. She passed. I tell you that. Safety, this course could change your life, right? So this is her paper, right? You're seeing for yourself. Let's take a look at her answers. Folks, are you all there? You're kind of quiet. So this is the question she did, right? This is health and safety leadership, right? Let's see if our answers look like her answers. We know it's a 8-mark question, so we expect to see 8 answers, right? Now, what I'm going to show you now is a secret. Well, I'll tell you the secret already, which is how to pass an exam. If we read any of this and one of that combination is missing, she would not have gotten the mark, right? She got 66. She didn't get 100. So that means everything here not correct. Some correct and some wrong, right? Most of this one correct. I checked this one already for today, right? But it's not, this girl that is not a rocket scientist. She's an average person straight out of school, right? She's not a rocket scientist, right? She just did the paper. She wasn't the highest, by the way. The highest was somebody in Tobago. Kimberly Clark was the highest, I think. Next is Maria Henry, higher than this one. And somebody knocking on the door. Yes, you can come in. Come in. Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to just mark it here for me, right? I'll do the receipt and yeah, hi. You will tell me after.
No,
You'll just follow through, right? For the amount for the class, and I'll do the receipt afterwards. The coordinator just stepped out. Right? He left. Yeah. You saw him on the step?
Yeah.
You could have come back upstairs and see him. If you saw him on the step, he was going this way. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, so what I was saying, it had higher marks, but this is the paper I opened, right? I didn't really think about which one I was going to open, right? Let me see. There's a couple people higher than her, right? Yeah, there's a couple people higher than her, but that's the one I opened, right? So I mean, just have to deal with it. I don't think anybody is perfect, right? Let's have a read of it. Let's see how she went. Have a look at the length of her answer. think to yourself if you can do that as well. Let's read this first one. In my opinion, poor health and safety leadership of the managing director can be the lack of commitment. So this is like what Devon said, right? The lack of commitment to health and safety. So you all agree to that? So that's the answer. And then we're going to see if she make mention to the line, right? Since the MD emphasize and openly dismiss that health and safety is not their responsibility, which can set a negative tone about health and safety to the rest of the organization. Now, I would give her the mark because she kind of have the combination, right? What is the combination? The combination is she have the answer, which is a lack of commitment, and she have a reference to the case study saying they don't have, they didn't share that responsibility. She didn't say the way I said it, and everybody talks differently, but she have the answer. She have the answer, and she have the lines, and because of that, she is going to get the mark for this answer here, right? How much mark she going to get? Anybody remember?
1 mark.
Just one.
One.
Sad,
One.
yeah, really sad. Anyway, yeah, let's go to another one. But what do you all think? I mean, look at the length of it. It isn't that bad. No textbooks needed, even if you have it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, right. And you pass the paper on to him, right? No textbooks needed. You can give it to him. I think you have to sign to it. Yeah. Oh, you sign. Okay, good. All right. Thank you. Okay, I'll do the receipt and send it for you on WhatsApp. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
for Chelsea, right?
You're right. If you're for Chelsea, okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah. Yes, I told you it's kind of difficult to get people to work after 3 on a Saturday. If anybody interested, I do hire my students, but you have to pass. As the coordinator that you also today, he was actually a past student of mine, but he working on thing now, right? He have his own little company doing safety training for the younger people here now. Not saying everybody, right? I know some of you all have your own work already. But even though, Saturday, Sunday, I go right through 7:30 in the night, but it's difficult to get coordinators to go those hours, right? And they're paid pretty well. But when you tell somebody a certain time they could leave, they tend to leave anyway, Daryl, right? That's just how it is. Company. Right. All right. Tell me about the length. Like, what do you all think? You think this is something that you could do? You think this was hard? You think that was because this is the first real paper you really see. Remember, we were trying to finish up chapter 1. What do you all think? Workable, doable, or is it too hard?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I find it good. The only thing is long, and you have to have a computer, and you have to, for the men here, I always talk about them, for the men here may take a little bit longer because remember I told you all we never did, at least I didn't do office procedures in school, or typing, like, I mean, and that's just how life is, we would have gone through, those who probably a little bit older would have gone through things like engineering and technical drawing. That's what I did. I never really learned to type. So if you see me in the office sometimes when you come and you want, I am looking at the keys. I cannot type without looking at the keys. However, I have typed my way out of 3 degrees, so I mean, it can be done. It just takes a little bit longer. It takes a little bit longer, right? Let's take a look at the second one, right?
I have a question, sir.
Sorry, Andre?
With regards to the structure of the answer, there must be a comment that refers back to this scenario and not necessarily a reference back to Asawa. Or do you have to put both?
The first one you said is the correct one.
Okay.
You don't really need to reference Hasawa. This, in fact, is not a Hasawa question. This is not a HSWR question. This is number 2. So we don't need to reference the law in this question. Did everybody see that? Take a look at that. This question is just asking what is for. We don't need to reference the law. Now, Andre, if you put it, I would say don't put it first of all, because it's not required it's required in number 3. We come into number 3 just now, right? But it's not required in this question here, right? I'm thinking if you put it, listen to what I'm thinking. I'm not telling you to put it. I'm telling you if you put it, right? If you put it, I think the examiner may think you misinterpret the question to be a law question. this question is not really a law question. The question was what was the poor practices of the MD. It was really not linked to a law at all, right? So for that reason, I would say don't put it. Number 3, yes. Anything that say law, yes. But as this is not a law question, don't put it, right? The British, funny. Remember, I'm not the British. Remember, I'm not your marker. As much as I like you and I wanted to pass, as everybody is in class, I have to think about how the British does think. Somebody in England looking at that and knowing it's not a law question, and if you keep referencing the act, it may be seen to be wrong. I reference it from my point, which was about responsibility, right? But I don't think you need to reference it here because this point is not on responsibility. This point is on, well, at least the second one anyway, right? This one here. So all doesn't have to be referenced. I think if you're not talking about the law or you wasn't linking it to the law, I don't think you need to reference to the HSW Act anyway, right? Let's go to this one, right? Did I read the second one for you all? Okay, number 2. Let me read number 2 for you, right? And keep your thinking caps on, right? In my opinion, poor health and safety leadership of the managing director can be the focus on solely the sales and profits. Okay, so I kind of agree to that, right? Let's see what's happening. The MD pressuring the store manager and workers to meet their sales target. Okay, yes, I would give the mark because you see, she has the combination. She have the answer and she have a mention to the passage. Where did she get this from? The MD pressuring the store manager, right? That had to come from the passage, right? Now, what I think would have been nice though, would have been for her to quote where she was getting it from, right? The MD pressuring the store manager and workers to meet the sales target with no consideration of safety risk, with tasks being rushed and workers doing unsafe practices to get the job done. So she's talking about the case study. I would give her the mark, but something in me is feeling like she should have cited something now, like how she cited how we read not their responsibility. But maybe this was something in the case study. Maybe I didn't read all of it because I didn't read all of it. So maybe that's something that she is mentioning there anyway. Let's read another one. In my opinion, poor health and safety leadership of the managing director can be failure to address the safety concerns when the store manager raised the concern about the stock supply and empty shelves. And this is in the case study, but we didn't reach all there yet. The managing director ignoring those issues and insisting on only meeting the proposed targets shows how safety was disregarded. So that's correct, because there's no way she could get it anywhere else beside in the case study. You can't get it on Google, as I'm trying to tell you, right? And you can't be that mad that you're making this up. You had to be getting that from the case study. So I will give the mark because this is the answer and the tie into the case study. I don't know if you want me to read out the whole case study. If you want, we can go and do that now, and then we can do the number 3 question, right? So we saw
I can format it in a couple minutes and drop it in WhatsApp.
yeah, sure. But I would read it for you. I'll read it for you all. Not a problem. We this one finished, if you ask me. I wanted to show you though. I wanted to show you her word count, right? So we're coming back to number 3, right? Remember, we're going to look at her number 3 in a bit, right? So look at her word count, right? You had heard me say on orientation day, there is a word count. You also heard me say, don't bother with the word count, right? You also say, don't bother with the word count here. Can I answer this? Yeah, you also, so don't bother with the word count. If you look at the word count here, you see 4,811 words, right? Don't bother with it. There is no penalty. There's no penalty for crossing the word count. So don't bother with it, right? She gave 4,811 words. She crossed the word count by more than 1,800 words. Remember, the word count is 3,000 words. Was she penalized? No. Did she get a high mark? Yes. So folks, don't bother with the word count. Just do what I tell you all to do. Let it fall where it fall. If it falls 3,500, 3,600, 3,700, 3,000, 3,200, that's okay. Let it fall where it fall. Don't bother with the word count. You know why I'm telling you that? You know why I'm telling you that, right? I think I don't know if I told her that story. I had a student in another class who went in the group chat. Let me show you, right? And he got the paper and in the exam, the day for the exam. So I wondered who is this person who have such power, boy, to make the class ignore everything I tell them before. He pull up this and showing them it have 3,000 words, but I tell it have 3,000 words too, right? And you know what some of those students did? Some of those students went and deleted some of their answers to make the 3,000 words. The only thing is why, right? Certificate? Yeah. Just take this one, right? Yeah. Yeah. So like why would you listen to a student when you're in class for 4 or 5 months and the teacher telling you this all the time? Why would you know, people listen to and deleted some of their answers while telling you the good answers? You know what they delete? They delete the lines. They delete the lines, which is what you need to get the combo correct. They delete the lines to try to make it true. Why? Right? Why? You know, if you read this carefully, you are not expected to write more than 3,000 words. If you read that, you know, it never really said you cannot write more than 3,000 words. Did they say you could write more than 3,000 words? They say you're not expected to write more than 3,000 words, but you could write more than 3,000 words. Let it fall wherever it fall. You all answer your question and let it fall wherever it fall, right? 3,300, 3,500, it don't really matter. There's no penalty. There's no penalty, right? All right, folks. But let me read it out then, and then we're gonna come and tackle number 3. However, what I like to do, this is actually a technique, so I don't know if you want to just keep a note of it. What I like to do, I like to read the question first. You see, reading the question first focuses your mind there, right? It's like you go to find a needle in a haystack, right? So we're going to do number 3, right? So you go to find a needle in a haystack, but nobody never tell you what the needle look like. What is the size of the needle? What does it look like? I guess you find it when you find it. But if you know what the needle look like, then you have a better idea of finding it, right? So number 3 is employees' responsibilities in the workplace. Number 3 says, listen to it. It is likely that worker A may have breached some of their duties as an employee under the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. So we see 6 marks, right? Comment on how worker A. So when we go to the passage, we need to focus on worker A. Like how we were focusing on the MD before, right? Just write it in here for me as well. Like how we were focusing on the MD before, right? We are focusing now on worker A, right? So forget worker B or worker C or forget the MD now. When we read it now, we only want to focus on worker A, right? What worker A did wrong, right? You should support your answers where applicable using relevant information from the scenario, right? And we need to find 6 of them. When I read again, we're gonna slow down when we find them, right? So we already read the top of it. Again, if you catch the fishing technique, you could have just go on and look to see where I had worker A now. But I wouldn't do all that. Let's take it from here, right? So I think we read this part already, right? We read the part about the MD and the MD has no interest in health and safety, believes it's not their responsibility, right? Forget the MD now. You understand what I'm telling you? All the needle we're looking for is worker A. You all understanding that? Every question, when before you attack every question, read it first and then go to the passage, right? I started here though, right? During open hours, workers use an electric forklift truck to move stock in the warehouse and around the store. There is a narrow doorway with flexible rubber curtains that lead from the warehouse to the store. Near misses have occurred in this area that have not been investigated, right? For now, we're looking for worker A for now, right? The accident. One morning, the SM, the store manager, informs the MD that they are concerned about the problems with stock supplies and the number of empty shelves. Things selling then, right? Things moving fast, so the shelves selling out, right? The MD ignores this concern and state how important it is for targets to be met. That could be a question for the one we did before, right? After a large stock delivery arrives, the SM inform all of the supervisor that it is crucial for all the workers to increase the speed of their work. Once this message is communicated, everyone works quickly to restock the shelves before the store opens. Remember, we focus on worker A, not the MD, not the SM. Worker A, so this is the man here. Worker A arrives late to work that morning. We'll come back and focus on the answers. I'm just going to read it out, right? They have a severe toothache and have not had enough sleep. The earliest dental appointment available to them is later that day. The sales supervisor shouts at worker A for being late, which puts the worker in a bad mood as they are usually very punctual. Remember, we focus on, I'll come back to it. I'll just read it, right? I'll come back, but keep mentally, we focus on what worker A is doing wrong, right? When worker A climbs into the forklift truck, another worker shouts, "Get a move on," at them. The sales supervisor tells worker A that stocks of a certain cleaning product for sale is low in the store. They ask worker A to take a pallet of this cleaning product from the warehouse into the store to restock the shelves. Worker A questions this instruction as they are customers in the store, but the sales supervisor insists. As worker A approaches the doorway into the retail area, they fail to sound the forklift truck horn. That's an obvious one. I mean, that can't get more obvious than that, right? And turn the corner very quickly, which is also another one, which means they speeded, right? We'll come back to it. They do not see a pile of boxes and knock them over. And the boxes strike a customer who is in the aisles. The forklift truck becomes unbalanced and falls onto the side, causing the containers on the pallet to break and the contents to spill all over the floor. As a result of the accident, the customer suffers a head injury. Must have been a big box, right? Worker A has scraped their leg, but is otherwise unharmed. The forklift truck has been damaged and cannot be further driven. Well, cannot be driven any further. The floor is damaged by the corrosive nature of the cleaning substance and has spilled onto the floor. A nearby worker witnesses the accident and hurries to the scene. They shout for worker B. This is somebody else now, who is also apparently the first aider. I put in the word also there, right? Worker B immediately arrives and assists the customers and worker A. They attend to the customer and ask another worker to telephone for an ambulance, right? So actually, the answers for the question there is right here. All of that answer is right here. It's hidden up right here. What did this worker A did wrong? We could read on if you want, I'll read on if you want. But what I say now down here now would be for like another question. If you watch here, this like for another question. If you want, I could read it out. Just for reading it out sake. I'll read it out. Right? Just for reading it out sake, right? So where am I? Okay, call for
The
the
SM.
ambulance, right? Yeah, okay. So right here. The SM arrives at the scene as the store manager. Remember this question have nothing to do with them. This question we looking at what did worker A breach have nothing to do with the SM, right? The store manager arrives at the scene of the accident and examines the area. They immediately asks a worker to cordon off the aisles and display no entry signs. Two supervisors are asked to leave their usual tasks to help clear up the spillage. The SM checks that worker B can stay with the customer. Remember, worker B apparently is the first aider, and then reassures worker A as they are distressed. That was the one driving the forklift, right? And damage their leg. They calmly take worker A to the welfare area, make them a hot drink, and sit with them. When worker A has calmed down, the SM asks, "Are you able to tell me what happened?" With workers A permission, the SM records what is said on their mobile phone. Worker A explains that they were distracted. Okay, so that's one. When operating the forklift truck because of their toothache, right? That could be something. Remember, that question focused on what worker A did wrong, right? After worker A finishes the explanation, the SM kindly thanks them for their time. The SM is this sort of grand Mother Teresa all of a sudden, right? That's because somewhere in another question, they must have asked what the SM did correctly. So this is answering that question, all right? Anyway, the SM returns to the accident scene with worker B, which is the first aider, informs them that the customer has been taken to the hospital and that a family member has been contacted. The SM asks worker B to visit worker A in the welfare area. That is also good. But not that worker A is doing anything wrong at this point in time, right? The SM then starts the video recording observation on their mobile phone, stating details of the time, date, location in which the accident occurred. They take some photographs of the area before returning to the welfare area to check on worker A. Again, that's very good of them to come back and check on him. The SM interviews 2 other workers who witnessed the accident and then telephones the MD to inform them of the accident. In the afternoon, after visiting the dentist, worker A is feeling slightly better and returns to work. They are allowed other work tasks by the sales supervisor. However, after finishing work later that day, they visit a healthcare center as their leg wound has signs of infection and would not stop bleeding. The next day, the SM receives a telephone call from the head office, who have been contacted by an environmental health officer from the local council, EMA then, right, or the EPA in England. They are responding to a member of the public who has made a complaint about the accident, probably about the chemicals, right? 1 month later. You notice, like I said, what we're reading now have nothing to do with number 3. That's what I tell you, it have every question have the answers here. So once you think you're out of it, you can stop reading and just answer this set question. This here is for another question, right? All the answers right here. If it's not here, use Google or ChatGPT, but use it in a smart way, right? But a lot of the answers right here, right? So 1 month later, I'll read it out because this is the last page. I'll read it out. So 1 month later, as a result of the accident, head office has decided to introduce a range of approaches to raise the profile of health and safety at the store. One objective is for the store to implement a behavioral safety program, a BSP. As part of the BSP, not what they did here, they actually describe how a behavioral safety program should be. We haven't done this yet. This is chapter 3, right? As part of the BSP, regular observations will take place. This involves observation of the store workers when carrying out a task. An observer will look for both safe and unsafe behavior, as well as noting the general workplace conditions at the time. There will be a follow-up conversation between the store worker and the observer. Usually this would occur during or immediately after the observation. In this conversation, the observer will give positive feedback to store workers who observe safe observation, as well as challenging workers on unsafe behavior. The aim is to encourage safe behavior, as all behavior-based programs are, right? If store workers are behaving unsafely, the observer will try to establish why they are behaving in that way, discussing what can be done to change it. The observers will be the workers who have volunteered to actively monitor respective departments. Training will be arranged for the observers. They would use a checklist of critical behaviors that has been developed by other stores and from studying past accidents and incidents in the wider organization. The checklist will be common across all areas of the store. The completed checklist will be collated and all findings will be shared at weekly team meetings. All of the associated forms, checklists, and procedures will be carefully version controlled. Have nothing to do with our question, right? But another question. Finally, we get something back in the MD down here. This would have been for number 2, right? The MD and some of the supervisors are not convinced of the value of the BSP. Head office has provided resources of training observers and workers. The MD would rather use this money for promotions and sales. So you could use that for number 2. Remember number 2, what the MD did wrong? You could use that for number 2 after all of that. That's what I tell you. Did you all understand the fishing technique I spoke to you all about today? The fishing technique where you could actually go and look for some of the answers purposefully. If the question focuses on the MD, scan through and look for the MD. Like this one we're doing focuses on worker A. So rightfully speaking, all the answers for worker A is hidden up right around here about worker E. right? So let's read this part over now, but we're going to get some answers, right? We're going to get some answers. Let me tell you what we have to get though. I'm going to refresh your memory, right? I'm going to refresh your memory. I just tried to change the markup. So we're going back to the question, right? Always the needle first, so that you don't get mixed up in the haystack then. Always know what you're looking for, right? So it says here, employee responsibilities in the workplace, right? Not employer, not director, not landlord, if you remember the different sections of the act, not contractors, employee. The question actually even said the section. So you didn't have to study what you did. Even say section 7. Section 7 is the duty on the employees, right? It is likely that worker A may have breached some of their duties as an employee under the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. It is likely he did. He was speeding, he bombed somebody, right? So it's likely that worker A may have breached some of their duties as an employee under the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, right? Comment. It means to give our views on how worker A may have breached their employee duties under section 7. We have to get 6. We can get 3 on the live. We look at Sierra paper, the paper I was looking at, so that we can see some of the answers someday, right? So comment means to give your views. We're going to start off in the same way. In my opinion, I believe worker A may have breached their employee duties under section 7 in that day, and you give the answer, right? So here's the thing I want to ask you now though. If you have your notes, if not, we're going to refresh your memory, right? It have 2 duties under section 7. Yes, only 2. It have 5 under section 2, and there's a lot more that not on your syllabus, right? But under section 7, when you have 2 duties, anybody can remember them? I'll tell you why I'm asking it is because you see, each of your answers have to tie back to that. Each of the answers you're going to give have to tie. Go ahead.
Is it duties of the employee and the employer?
No, if it's section 7, it would just be employees alone. Look at here. Employee duties. So what are the 2 duties of the employee under section 7? It's an open book exam. So if you have your notes, you could have checked back to see if you see it. I'm just asking if anybody remembers.
Reasonable care and duty to cooperate with the employer.
Very good, Andrew, right? So the 2 duties is that you have to work safe. I don't know if you remember that. As not to endanger yourself and that of others. I don't remember that. That's the same duty in Trinidad and the same duty in Guyana too. The act doesn't change, right? So you have to work safe, right? You have to work safe. So when we see the guy speeding the forklift, when we see him coming to work with a toothache, right? Is he really working safe, right? So we have to work safe as not to endanger ourselves and that of others. Why do you think he had to apply the brakes quickly to the forklift? I said he was speeding, right? So you have to work safe as not to endanger yourself and that of others. I don't remember that. It's the OSH Act, in case you remember it. You should remember it. It's worldwide. Go England, go Canada, go Dubai. It's the same thing. Wherever you go, remember, we all under the British. Hong Kong, under the British. Well, was. Grenada, still under the British. This is in their act to work safe. This is in our OSH Act. This is in the Guyana OSH Act. It didn't change, right? America too, in America was under the British, the Boston Tea Party, right? So work safe as not to endanger yourself or others. And the other one, Andrew said it is to cooperate with the employer. Cooperate with the employer in order for them to fulfill their legal obligation. If you want, did you all make notes? If you have notes, could you all look back at it? And if you're not making notes, remember what I'm telling you. You're not making sense, right? You must have a notebook for this class. No way you're paying so much money and not making notes, right? Let me just shout out some of you all to see for the weekend. Or some of you all may be having what? It's going to 4 o'clock, so you're probably having something to eat. We almost finished, right? But remember, these things are important. We almost finished. We have 20 minutes again to go. Carissa, Brittany, Ambika, if you're allowed there. Rishon is there. Ryan Moore, Shivan, Wayne, Vidish, Anthony, right? You all understanding, folks? Not all classes are like this. Remember, you have a powerful class today. If you catch this
Yes,
class
sir.
today, you can pass the exam. And okay, thanks for the feedback, right? Okay, so to cooperate with the employer. So listen to how I will give an answer, right? So one of my answers will be, what I said it before, in my opinion, let's just give the easiest one, right? Let's give the easiest one where the guy was speeding, right? We say, in my opinion, worker A may have breached section 7 of the act in that, but you have to reference it in that they did not work safe. You have to quote these lines then. They did not work safe as to endanger themselves and that of others, right? And then you put a full stop, and then you have to give an example from the scenario. You can say, let's go up and see if we find one. Well, it right in the passage there, right? We find one where they failed to sound the horn. That was the easiest one, wasn't it? It have some that could be implied, but it have an easy one here where they failed to sound the horn. Let's see if we can see it. Okay, watch it here, right? You can just go with the easiest one, right? As worker A approached the doorway, as worker A approaches the doorway into the retail area, they fail to sound the horn. So you can just quote that. You can just this is it in the case study where and you can say back in your own words as a forklift were driven into the retail area, worker A did not sound the horn. Full stop. And that's an answer. I cannot think of anything easier, people. Maths was harder than this. Right? NIBOSH before the pandemic was harder than this. Because you had to remember it. Now you just have to find it. Right? Now it's just a big passage. Well, not too big. Two pages. Right? Let's see if we can find another one. We set up the same way. We can say, in my opinion, worker A may have breached the employee duties under Section 7, and he could quote back the same thing in that they did not work safe as to not to endanger themselves and not to cause danger to others, in that they appear to have been speeding. Full stop. And you just find that in the passage, right? We see here, because this can be seen where as they enter the retail area, they turned a corner very quickly. Remember, they're not walking in they're driving a forklift, right? So when they say they turn the corner, they're twisting, right? Is a forklift they're driving, right? And that's it. That's it for this one. What you all think? We can look at Sierra paper if you want. Tell me if you see any. And this one to cooperate with the employer. And you could find some there, but you may have to find it. I would have liked to start here though, like when they say worker A arrives late to work that morning, right?
Even the lack of sleep, sir, I think contributed to his mistakes too, and all.
because
Not being
what does
able
the
to
act say?
focus.
Yeah, the act say work safe as not to endanger yourself, right? Work safe as not to endanger yourself. So I could use that. I can say, in my opinion, worker A breached Section 7 of the HSW Act in that they did not work safe as to not cause danger to themselves, in that they seem to be fatigued, right? And there was generally a lack of sleep. And then you can just come back to the case study. This can be seen when they arrived late that morning and had not have enough sleep, right? Someone passes some Yola. You see what I hold in my hand here? I tell you, this is another class, right? And you shouldn't ask anything less, because remember, you're paying your money. This is not a cheap course.
Excuse me,
Right?
sir.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
And they said that he had a toothache, right? So working while being like injured is one.
I think that could be one as well, right? Sometimes, Carissa, you can find more than 6 answers, but you should stop when you read 6, because they don't give you more than 6 marks. I think that's one. I think he's not in the best of health. And I think, if you imply working safe as not to endanger yourself, I think that means he is under, they didn't just say a toothache, we say a severe toothache, right?
Enough fit to work.
Yeah, enough fit to work. I would use that as well, right? Not a problem there anyway. Let me see if anything
And
else
then
you
also
did
it's
wrong. Go ahead.
and then also it's he didn't get enough sleep.
Yeah,
Sleep
yeah,
deprivation.
Yeah, yeah. Good, good, right? So that would be, if you put it, let's see how to structure it. I just wanted to see if there's any apparent, they're coming. Yeah. Hi, hey, good. You can do use the camera, right? You can just go to her. Yeah. All right. Let's check out Carissa sorry, not Carissa. Sierra, because we'll run out of time. There's only 10 minutes again we have, right? Folks, remember next week, Saturday, you started chapter 2, right? Also remember chapter 2 is not very long. So don't be, I tell you already, yeah, in the month of June, you'll be finishing chapter 2 and starting chapter 3. And the course only have 4 chapters. But chapter 3 kind of long. So thank God for that. In case you're worried. Chapter 3 a little bit long, right? Let me see what I did with the good people. Let's see them now. Hang on, this Zoom thing is in the way. It's not even moving. It's gonna okay, sorry, but it's the Zoom bar is blocking it. Let me try to move it out to the way. So after a couple of classes like these, we're telling you already, you all shouldn't have any issues, right? So now, when I say now, I mean not right now, right? But after today, Wayne, after today, I could give you a past paper today. I know you have been asking. Some of you all have been asking. Remember what I told you all, right? I wanted to make sure you know what you was getting into. You see, it didn't make sense give you a pass paper and you know what you was doing, you see. Then you end up doing the wrong thing, right? But you see, after today, you have no excuse. When I give an assignment, I want it back by the Tuesday. I think I mentioned that on orientation, right? Once I know that you know what you have to do now, it's time to get a couple of questions, right? So I'll try to send you one. You all are my last class for today, but I have been going since about 8:45, right? So if not tonight, Monday, I will try to give you a question. I normally give you just one. I think I don't remember that from orientation day, but I want everybody to do it. We scorecard it. NEBOSH does audit it, but it doesn't consist of any marks towards your exam. So don't get fooled. You're doing it for you, and you're doing it for me, right? You're not doing it for NEBOSH. Class assignments are really not going to add up to anything in your exam. Folks, you'll understand that? If you don't have the time, don't stress out yourself. If you're working, don't stress out yourself, but get it done. Call it assignment 1, right? When I give you it on Monday, call it assignment 1 because you're doing it for you. You're doing it to see if you could write like Sierra. What class? What month? April? Do you want that now start? Start in June? No, next month. That book is another class, yeah. Okay, no problem. Yeah, okay. All right. All right. Okay, let's take a look, right? So Section 7 of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 states. So I like how this person start off. So she started state, right? That the employees have the duty to take reasonable care of the health and safety of that of others, supposed to be themselves first, right? Take care of their own health and safety and that of others who can be affected by their acts or omissions. The act also states that they must cooperate with the employers. I love that start to enable compliance with the health and safety duties. That's how I actually started on the left-hand side here, right? Okay, let's see if she got them, right? In my view, worker A may have breached some of their duties as an employee under section 7, as they fail to take reasonable care. So I like that because it's a blend back into taking reasonable care from up here whilst operating the forklift truck. Perfect here because by not sounding the horn and turning too quickly around the corner resulted in a serious accident to the person, right? The customer and the company as they were reported to a local council. Perfect. I will give it a mark. It's nice. It's exactly nice. It's everything we asked for, right? So she mentioned back the section of the act. She mentioned the taking reasonable care. And she also mentioned the example here, not sounding the horn, turning too quickly. No examiner on the face of the earth will give you this wrong.
So could that answer be turned into two answers?
Yeah, I would have gone to two, but I didn't really know. Like they turned in too quickly in this song. Then hold on, I made two answers with it. But I didn't reading what Sierra have,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, right. So yeah, I would have gotten two because I want to make my six. I want to make my six, right? And I get the six. You can get more than six if you want, but you have to get six at the end of the day, right? So no examiner on the face of the planet will give you this wrong. And if they do, I'll take it up with them. Right? Okay, next one. In my view, I'm just reading about three and we'll stop it because there's almost time to call the roll, right? In my view, worker A may have breached some of their duties as an employee under Section 7 as they are operating machinery while being physically unfit. Well, some of you all just said that, right? Due to worker A suffering from a severe toothache and a lack of sleep, this resulted in a loss of concentration causing the accident, right? This is good. I would give the mark. The only thing I would have put in, I would have just quote back, didn't take reasonable care of their own health and safety. Like when she stopped at 7 here, I would have gone back and quote back the line here. They didn't take reasonable care of their own health and safety, right? But I'll give it the mark because she did have this is like a banner to the top here then, you understand? This is like an overarching banner. So all of these points would fall under that, right? So nothing is wrong with that. I will give the mark here. One more for the road, as they would say, but maybe we could read the last one. Let's see what she had as for number 6. All right. So in my view, worker A may have breached some of their duties as an employee under Section 7 as they neglected their own injury. This was seen when the worker did express that they suffered an injury to the leg, but prolonged seeking medical attention resulting in it later getting infected. That's actually a nice point. I didn't actually think about that. You know, did that not cross your mind? Like the person was injured, but they came back to work, right? I mean, that actually is actually sensible enough, right? I don't know if you remember it, but I do have the question paper. This is the answer paper. And that actually did make sense. They did say when the person visited the dentist, they came back to work and was given work, but the person had scraped their leg. This is actually a good point. I agree to this. What do you all think? Because I remember reading this saying the thing not stopping bleeding. So, and it was infected. I think this is a very good point. I didn't think about this one, but I think it's I didn't think about it now, like in the live, right? But I'm sure if I was doing the paper, I would have gotten it looking at the whole case study anyway, right? So I think this is a good one. This is a good one anyway, right? Folks, that is a wrap. 3 minutes to go on our past paper session. 3 minutes to go on our past paper session, right? So this one is finished. I'm done here for today, right? Hopefully you all follow through. And we did orientation. I did promise you all these things. I know you probably forgot. I kept telling you all I want to make sure of this, make sure of that. And we are going to do a couple of past papers, right? And you're seeing them. Even from one chapter behind you, you know, you can get questions done anyway, right? So it is possible then. And what I'm saying is just one chapter you have under your belt. By doing chapter 2, you'll be able to do this question down here. You see this one here? Well, not just this one. I mean, this is the paper we have open, but any question that is on chapter 2 now. Chapter 2 is on management systems, ISO 45001. Chapter 2 is on that. Chapter 2 is on safety policy and stuff like that. Very nice chapter. Nothing complicated in chapter 2. Also a very short chapter at that anyway, right? So I would give you, well, I don't have the calendar too. Calendar still is on me, right? The 7th and the 14th, I guess, we'll be finishing chapter 2 on the 14th of June, starting chapter 3 in the other week, right? That is how the course go. Unless if you want another past paper session when we finish chapter 2, you let me know, right? But I know I needed to do one with you so that you fully understood what you were in for with the course anyway, right? Folks, with that said, let me call the roll. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being present. Right, of course, like I said, the last class of the day, but you all have some advantages or some disadvantages. Huh? The advantage is you get to get up late. My 9 o'clock class, you know, normally start around 7:30, people start logging in, right? But at least you'll have some advantages. And now that class is finished, you can probably get your whatever, dinner, whatever you'll get around 4 o'clock anyway, right? Do we have any questions coming out of today's class? As I go to mark the rule, I would just do a quick summary. So what we did today, we sort of looked at some techniques in answering NIBOSH, questions and answers. We looked at 2 questions from one of the chapters we had done. We looked through a case study, we formulated some answers, we saw some exam techniques. I hope you remember them. One technique, if you forgot, is called the efficient technique. Another technique is just reading. You just do it as you see it. That's a kind of longer technique, but efficient technique is a very good technique as well, right? We also viewed a past student's paper that passed the exam. She got a mark in the 60s. Wasn't perfect, but you saw some good answers, you saw some structure, you saw the word count, all of that is what you would have noticed anyway. So in closing off, let me ask you a couple of questions then. I'm going to ask you as if it was orientation day, right? So can you cross the word count on a NIBOSH exam?
Yes,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, good. What do you have to get 1 mark? What is the format for getting a mark with an answer? Do you just have to have the answer alone? So these are true or false questions, right? Or A and B. Do you have to have the answer alone, or do you have to have the answer with the lines?
the answer with the line.
Answer with
Just
the
remember
line.
that, the day
Answer
you
with the
put,
line.
yeah, very good, very good. The day you put the answer alone, you're not getting the marker. I mean, isn't that strange? You ever thought about what I just tell you there? Imagine you have the correct answer, but you can't get a mark because you didn't put the lines. Yes. You can actually fail NIBOSH should have the correct answer because the combination is not just the answer. Look at right here. You should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the
From the
scenario.
scenario. Okay.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. All the time, right? So it's possible to fail NIBOSH, but put in the correct answer. That's where Google trips you up. Some people just Google stuff and they put, right? That's not what you're supposed to be doing. I will show you a technique as the course go along in using Google. I showed you 2 techniques today. You could use Google, not for that one. We couldn't use Google for number 2. We couldn't use Google for number 3. It's not really going to help us. You don't need it. You don't even need your book. You need your book. I mean, your book is yours. Look at here, I tell you. I mean, all you who pay for it. That book is your book, right? You paid for those books, right? That money came from your money. But at the end of the day, you don't really need much of your book. If you have your class notes, I would recommend that you all print them out. Have you ever thought about that? Print out the PowerPoint. Yes, you could print it. Print it 6 on 1 page. There's a way you could set the printer and so that you don't use a whole set of pages now, right? How good would it be? Just think about this, right? How good it would be on the day of exam when you have all your handouts in front of you. So when you see a question like number 3, you could just go back to PowerPoint 1 and that's fine. Remember, I have it on the slide now. Section 2, Section 3, Section 4, right? How good it would be when you see a question on ISO that you pull up the slide on ISO that's in the second PowerPoint I'm going to send for you, right? Or would you be that person thinking about where my PowerPoint is at? What PowerPoint was that? Let me message your group and see what PowerPoint is at. Would you be that person? Would you be a person that's prepared for the exam? Or would you be somebody who now open your PowerPoint for the first time, looking back in PowerPoint 2, looking back in PowerPoint 1? What is the duty of the employer? What's the duty of the employee? You all are paying your money. Nobody should have to tell you all this, right? But I want you all to pass. You all know me, right?
So just
This is not... Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to put sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
The PowerPoint, if I'm correct, that would have been the PowerPoint slides you would have initially sent us.
Yeah, that's only one you got. That's only one you got. So
Okay,
I have to send you a new one for chapter 2. Right?
Great.
What I said, when the course finished, you could print out all now. The week before, you print it all and keep it. Think how nice it would be when you just open ISO 4. I have it on a chart. You could find it in the book, but what about you? I have a bigger chart. The book have a small chart. I could prove that to you. Let me prove it here. This next week class, huh?
Yeah. So, and I think this class here is class 6 or class 5.
You all have it on YouTube. This may be class. Just now, hold on.
Six. Six.
Six. Use
Six.
class
Okay,
six.
great.
Class
Okay,
six, right?
great. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
class
thank you.
six. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
What's something, right? This is how they have ISO diagram in your textbook. So don't say you're waiting for your book. I will give you what how small that writing is. What how small that writing is, right? I have
Yeah.
a large printout of ISO on my PowerPoint, right? Why not just print the PowerPoint, right? And have it so that you have your stuff at your hand now. So this is what I'll tell you, some people just finish 4 o'clock. And then some people say they wait until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. You ask some students what time they submit, 5 to 6. They sleep whole night. Why? Why? In a question that's this easy, right? Why? Why would this take you? Look, you all got answers. Why would that take you more than an hour to do? That's what I tell you, right? 9 questions, 9 hours of work with a break in between, right? Why would this take you more than one? You know why? You know why? I could tell you why now. You know why? Let me tell you why. You know why? Because they didn't prepare. That's it. They didn't prepare. You did not prepare. You didn't pay attention. You're writing a whole set of things. You're going on Google. You're not reading your textbook. You didn't prepare, right? And then Shiva say, what's the pass rate at the school? The pass rate in sometimes is 100%. This time is 94%. But what would your pass rate be like? Right? At the end of the day, remember, I'm not Nibosh. I may look like Nibosh, but I'm not joking. Right? Your paper going to England for marking. You had to get this. This change in your life, not mine. I good. I good already, as some people would say, right? But we're here to help you all now, right? This change in your life, right? If you want to lecture, I hire my lecturers come from you all. If anybody here want to lecture, you want to look, I hire my lecturers from right here, right? My coordinators come from right here. Anybody you see in the office comes from right here, right? Some move on with their own, like the guy Darian, so he have his own company. Some move on to lecture in UE, some move on to start their own company, some become safety managers in Atlantic LNG, Proman, Desalcott, wherever you find them, right? But we all start right here. And it's not hard, so I wanted to get it. I would love to hold up this exam sheet and say this class, April 2025, everybody pass. It's really up to you. I could do my part. At the end of the day, I can't do your exam for you. You have to do it and then have to go to the UK, right? All right, let's start. So for today, okay, so I did see some of you all. Ambika.
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
she's present,
present.
right? Okay, thanks very much. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Devon Burrows. Devon is here.
Present.
Thanks for
Yeah.
taking part, Devon. Yeah. Sadranessa Ben in Guyana. I didn't see her on the live. Yes, but I'm seeing her now.
Present,
So
sir.
yeah,
I'm
thanks
present.
there, Sajjanessa. Yes, okay. Justin Mirage. Janelle Jack is on the live. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks very much, Janelle. Ryan Moore. After Ryan is Videsh. Videsh, thanks for being here. Put in your present. Andre Wells, thanks for taking part. Andre, put in your present as well, right? Emily Gopal. Carissa is here. Thanks for taking part, Carissa.
Yes, sir.
Sangita, Joda in Guyana.
Present, sir.
Hi, Sangita. Chelsea Harilal. If Chelsea's on the live. Brittany Ramdas. Joshua Wayne. Okay, thanks, Brittany. Wayne is here. Yeah. Brittany Modest. Vidal Joseph. Ishwar Maharaj. Page Fortune. I would, of course, put this on YouTube, right? So you all get it. I'll put it back in the WhatsApp group in a bit. Right? Daryl is here. Thanks for taking part, Daryl. Of course, Carol Valdez. No Carol, right? Shivan Suklal is here.
Present, sir.
Yeah. Shanika James.
Present, sir.
Thanks, Shanika. Aliyah. I'm missing my friend today, Aliyah, right? Aliyah is not here. Rishon.
Present, sir.
Thanks for being here, Rishon. Mark Anthony is here. Wayne, we have you already. Christy Rampasad is not here. Anybody in the live did not hear your name? That's a wrap. I'll see you all back next week, Saturday, everyone, right? Darrell? How was Santa Clara? Rainy?
Sunny.
Serious? Okay.
Yeah.
So a different part of the world anyway, yeah. Okay, Darrell, okay.
Okay,
Good,
enjoy.
good. All right, all the best. Bye. Bye. Oh, should have been.